Mic goes live like it's done before. 9 years deep in these mountain towns, we brew the truth, not just sit around. I came for a visit and stayed for the view, but the soul of this place, it just pulls you through. Mornings in Finlandia, nights in Salento. Life don't move fast, but man, it's full tempo. This ain't a pitch, it's real as it gets. From lost bags to love and bureaucratic regrets. No script here, just the sound of real lives told live every week under Colombian skies. It's coffee time lived from the heart of Quindio, where the screen fades out and the real stories flow from expats who landed and locals who guide. We laugh, we vent, we cry, we ride. It's not about views, it's about the vibe. Just raw conversation, live and alive. Got folks tuning in from every time zone, asking what's it like to make this place your own. It's mango trees, it's rent debates, it's finding peace past the clickbait gates. Some days we talk visas, some days we just breathe and sip dark roast while the valley grieves through mudslides, marches, markets, and mess. We show up with stories, no more, no less. It's coffee time lived, not just a name on a screen. It's 9 years of mornings and everything between. No hype, just heart and a decent brew. A place for the honest, the warm, the true. Not selling dreams, just sharing the ride from right here in Quindio, live. And if you've ever felt a little lost or wide awake at dawn, this show was made for you to lean on. We're not tourists here, we belong, we build in mountain towns where the air stands still. So bring your mug, your doubts, your days. We'll light 'em up in soft cafe rays. It's not a podcast, it's a porch-like glow. It's home and a headline, a yes and a no. It's coffee time live, come as you are, from my table in Colombia to wherever you are.
Music to put you to sleep by Grand Colombia. Welcome back and welcome to another Coffee Time Live here in Armenia, Colombia. And thank you for everybody that's here. I appreciate it. I am still doing the YouTube experiment, but fortunately, people are mostly here, and that's awesome. So I don't have my little thing that I put up that says what I'm going to talk about today, so I'll just have to explain it. I don't have much to say about me in particular today. You get enough of that, right? And Chad, good morning. And Andromeda Surfer, good morning. How are you? I've got a couple little clips to show that are like a minute or less, and then I've got A few headlines, not much. They're mostly repeat headlines this week. It was weird. Um, Different day, so republished. So I guess they're grasping for news themselves. But then I've got, it's not a main topic, but I'm going to talk about rent in some detail today. And I'm going to go over my rent since I arrived here and what my rent is now for 2026. Um, so I'll talk about that. I'm going to show you some examples of rentals currently listed on the internet. I think I've got 4 or 5 of them, and I'm going to show you those. Then I'm going to get to the main topic. Of course, you got to put a number, and it didn't come up to 10. So I've got 7 myths that expats come with them. Basically, if you're coming from the US, you have this frame of mind, preconceived notions about what it's going to be like in Colombia or Ecuador or pick any other country. And I'm going to talk about the ones that have the most impact on you until you kind of ground yourself in reality. Bear with me. No coffee today because I had my coffee not too long ago, not up for another one. Tommy, good morning. How are you? And did I miss one? Got one there that's out of sight on my chat. Let me look. Here we are. Warbecky? B. Nick, how are you doing? There we go. I've got different chats. I had to click around. And cheers to you too. Okay, so a couple of the I'm working on the background. It's still a work in process. There's my coffee time bear. There's my coffee, a coffee time mug. There's my latest book, number 3 in the series. It's actually a novella. It's kind of thin. It's just a fiction story based on the theme of the other ones. My old coffee time, you guys may remember this from a long time ago. I dug it out. And I haven't used this in a long time because it was too bright, but I actually took the time to figure out ISO settings and things like that so that I get somewhat decent video and still have that on. Before the thing it would just go way too bright. Tommy, just follow-up question. Have you had any changes or issues since the Capital One Discover merger? We spoke about it a month or so ago. I'm not really using it hardly at all anymore, and I haven't been for quite some time. The card was sent to my stepbrother, and I don't know, all I get is junk mail, and I think he just didn't notice it, and he threw it out with the rest of the junk mail that arrives. Because I've been away from the U.S. for 10 years, so there's no real mail that I get there, except in this case. And so I don't even have a card. I know it expires soon, maybe next month, but I haven't used it in a long time, so I can't really say if it's having an effect or not. Chad, I missed the neon sign. Yeah, I went through the trouble of getting it, and then it was just too bright. And I tried to find a dimmer, and the problem is you can't just use a regular dimmer switch because it's an LED, a fake neon. Excuse me. So you got to have a specialized dimmer for it, and I haven't seen one, but I haven't looked really hard. I just once or twice I kind of casually looked. I just didn't want to spend the money, and I got a lot of projects, so I decided to play with the camera. It's not as good compensating for that brightness, but I don't know. Still working on it. I put a barcode up here. It's also pinned message. This is I haven't talked about it in a long time, but Rumble has this feature where you can go to this link with your phone or a webcam or your laptop or whatever. You can go to this link and you can record a 1 minute message. It could be a comment on something we talked about, something you want to see. It could be a question. And with that, on the next week, I can take those and for, let's say, for example, you got a question, you go there, you record a question up to 1 minute. And then next week, I can, if the question is worthy, I can show you asking the question and then respond to it. It's just a feature they've had. I haven't used it yet, but it seems like a cool idea. So I'll remind you over the next few weeks about it. And that's the barcode there that'll take you to that link. Okay, I've got best might be additional light on your face to compensate. I've got two bright light boxes. They're this size. One's right here. You can see the light from that. The other one is here. You can see the light from that on my hand. And if it's any brighter, I won't. It's already interfering with what I see because it's pretty bright on me. It's just that thing is really bright. The only way to make this really look its best is to get a dimmer for the thing. But I don't know. I'm trying not to spend money. When I go over the rent, you'll understand why. All right. So, excuse me. I thought this was kind of pretty. I don't know who did it, but I grabbed it.
Si supiera que me encanta, más lo da dentro que afuera. Lo que hiciste atrás no importa. Solo quiero que tú sepas que no quiero que te acomple. Siempre sea como tú y de nadie más te apeche, de nadie más que no sea yo.
If you can't be here, but we get some pretty amazing sunsets, and that one was just gorgeous. Then we had this kind of cool, this drug bust. Somebody was trying to go through Quindio, and they've been catching people left and right. And I thought I would show that. It was a woman had these stuffed in her backpack. Yeah, so basically, they're telling you don't bother setting up shop in Quindio. We will catch you. But on top of that, don't bother trying to pass through Quindio because we will catch you. And that's all the headlines that I said that are repeated. There were several of them, and they were things I've already talked about in the past 2 weeks about the extent of the crime and the crackdowns and how many people they've caught. All they did was they upgraded the number to show they caught more, but it was really the same story. They're very proud, and they should be. They've been doing a great job. And this last one, this was really unusual. It was an accident not too far from here. Now that's an accident. Okay.
At the moment, traffic on your commute looks good. The fastest route takes about 1 minute.
Did you hear that? That was LX, and I don't want to continue. something I said triggered her? Okay. So now we're going to two headlines. Yeah, let's do the headlines now. Get them over with. There's not much to them. First one is there was a warning that came out yesterday for 90 days, and it's warning all the airlines about flying in the Pacific airspace around Panama and Colombia, which is kind of ominous because there was speculation in this thing, and I read that had to do with the drug boats, but that would have nothing to do with the airspace, really. So this is what they did before in Venezuela. So I don't know what, maybe they're going to hit the cocaine farms. I don't know, but it's in place for 90 days. It could just be a message, but it does cause the airlines to go to their alternate routes. They don't have a route. They have alternate routes depending on weather and different things. And so they have to switch to alternate routes because of this. If you're flying, you won't notice any difference. But I thought I would mention that. And this last one is pretty damn awesome. If you live here or anywhere in Colombia, you could probably appreciate that. This is not, as far as I know, this isn't a Colombian-wide thing. This is a Quindio thing. We've kind of had it with the boy racers on their motorcycles that think the only way a motorcycle is going to run decent is if you take the muffler off it. Noisy motorcycles will be penalized with fines of up to $1,208,000 for noise pollution. That's hundreds of dollars. And I love it. And they actually have a decibel count, so they have to be under that decibel count. Also, if they go to get their inspection, their annual inspection, measuring the decibel count is now part of that inspection. So I really appreciate the problem with cars and traffic and motorcycles here. It's not that the laws don't exist. They actually exist. It's just that they are never enforced. And what they're announcing here is this decibel rule has always been in place. It's never been enforced. And they're just saying we're going to begin enforcing these things now. And I love it because every Saturday night for about 30 minutes around 11 o'clock, I get the most horrendously loud motorcycles racing each other. They start right about where I am, which is the border of Armenia. They race up the 4-lane highway one way, and then they come back the other way. And there's been a couple motorcycle accidents right here in front of my building because they don't slow down quick enough. They're just not good at what they're doing, at least these particular ones, and they wreck right in front of my building. And then, you got ambulances and police and traffic backed up forever. And it's all ridiculous. If you want to, coming from a person who used to do that myself when I was young. However, I found places that were more suitable for those things. And here they chose the most unsuitable place of all. Anyway, so I'm just glad for that. Okay. So we're going to talk about this global affordability crisis. This was an article a couple days ago in Time Magazine. I'm sure you're not a big fan of Time Magazine any more than I am, but the article was interesting, and it really, I've seen it here. I've addressed it somewhat on this channel, but it's happening all over the place. People, if you're in the United States, can't afford to live anymore. Let's say you move to Thailand and you're saying it's getting so damn expensive here. I need to look for an alternative place. And here, if you're in Colombia, you're looking at how everything, the costs are going up. And like Mike, he looked to Panama, Turtle. He was thinking about moving somewhere cheaper. We're reshuffling the deck chairs because it's a worldwide thing. And some places are a little further ahead than others, but it will all equalize. So if you jump to a place where it's better in the moment, in 3 months from now, it doesn't mean it's going to be better then. And so what you really need to do is understand the situation and just kind of reassess what you're doing. Which brings me to rents and costs of rents. I got a little thing here, and I'm going to look at some apartments. This is how it's affected. All right. So from 25 to 26, if rents do not change in pesos, so if you're renting a place and it's 1,350,000, in 2025, the average exchange rate was 4,052. So your rent costs $333 a month. This year, if the average rate, at least so far, is 3,700, that same rent is costing you now $365. That's $32 more a month. You can take that to a bunch of other things. Plus, there's the cost of living that's going to add on to the rent that's going to increase another 5.1%. So if rent rose in pesos, in other words, if you get a rent increase or rents in general have increased, use the example of rounding off because I had one this amount, 1,100,000. In 2025, the average exchange rate was 40.52, so that would have been $272. And in 2026, with the rent increase at 1,350,000 at 3,700 exchange rate, that rent is now $365. So what was 272 could very well be 365. Now it's not an exact, but these are your particular circumstance. You're going to have something that falls somewhat line. Likely can be less, and you can talk to the landlord unless you're through a real estate agent, and then you can't. But if you rented from the owner directly, you can talk to them. You can mitigate that. I always found that they were willing. Versus the money they lose putting it up for rent, and who knows, rent right away. Maybe it'll take 3 months. A sure thing with somebody that pays every month is better than speculating. And so you can use that to work in your favor. Okay, so let's take a look at some here. Let's see if I can trying to do a screen share with this. Rent parts. Nope, that's not the one. It's not the one I want. Try again. Let's try this one. There we go. Okay, so here's one. I think, well, it's right near where I am. I'm not sure what building. I wasn't able to tell for sure, but it's renting currently at 3 million pesos. If you look, it's 77 square meters. In feet, that would be 830 square feet. And yeah, let's see. Let's take a look at some pictures of it. You could see what you would get for 3 million pesos. Why is this not? There we go. Kind of small living room, but it's got, which is kind of typical here. It's got a balcony. So it's a big couch. There's a kitchen, kind of small kitchen too. It's funny, the square meters about the same. It's almost identical to my apartment, but it's all to do with layout. Like here, I don't know what you've got. To me, it looks like a wasted room, but bedroom's pretty good size. Another balcony, and it's got two bathrooms. Yeah, there's one balcony with a concrete wall and the other balcony with a glass wall. So it's very similar to my place. It's not my building, I can kind of tell, but um, so we got that one. Let's see what else we got next. Uh, this one, I think. Yep, this one's next. This one is 57 square meters. It's also in the north. It's also very, very near to me. And 57 square meters is only just over 600 square feet. And it'll have a similar look. Most of these apartment buildings look very similar. This looks like it actually could be in the same building. And with a lot less, these are all, I looked up, they're all 2-bedroom. Yeah, I think that's the same building. It's just a lot smaller apartment. Okay, and the next one, this is Matisse. This is right next door to me. 1,800,000. This is 62 square meters. So it's larger than the last one and it's 200,000 cheaper. And at 62, that's 670 square feet. It's got a balcony. Again, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. This living room, instead of being long and narrow, it's more square, so it's more suitable. Also, a very small kitchen, but at least it's got an oven. This one, I think, is superior to the last one. And the kitchen, while it's small, you got room for a refrigerator and a washing machine and a little laundry area. If you look over the laundry, let me go back. Here's the laundry sink, the hot water heater, and right up here, you don't need dryers here. You throw your clothes up there, and if it's a t-shirt or underwear, it'll be dry in less than an hour. If it's blue jeans, maybe 3 or 4 hours. Things dry really fast here. This bedroom, second bathroom, another bedroom. Okay, so that's Matisse. Got 2 more. Here's one also in the north. And I think this is the one. Yeah, this is right across the street. If you guys remember, I showed a building being constructed for the last couple of years. It's on the other side of me. Step out on my bedroom's balcony, you can look right at it. So this is a brand new building. It's 1,500,000, 1.5 million pesos. It's only 45 square meters, which is 484. It's pretty small. It's quite small. Tight fit there in the kitchen. Don't back up. Laundry room attached. Not sure. Looks like a long, skinny bedroom. 1 bath. Nice balcony. This is not that apartment. If you look at the ceiling, I don't know what this is. You have to watch listings. This would be the entire size of that apartment. You see this ceiling here? And let me go back. Look at the ceiling there. It's like that throughout the apartment. So this is not that apartment. It's not the right size. It doesn't have those windows. I don't know why they put it in there. Okay, so very, very small apartment. Nice building. And pretty cheap, but... And now, take a look at one in the south. Not displaying on my screen? Really? Oh. Sorry. Yeah, I have to set it up each and every one individually, and I missed that one. All right, well, we'll just move on. The last one I have here is in the south. And this is a great price. It's a really good price. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It's 900 square meters, which is almost 1,000 square feet. It's an old building, and it's not a great neighborhood. Now, on the other hand, this place is got 24-hour security, so it doesn't really matter that much. Let me look at the pictures here first. This is an upstairs and downstairs. The layout's kind of screwy. Like this is a itty bitty tiny little space here. This one's not much better. This is a living room. Kitchen. What you see is what you get. Well, it's got an oven though. That's not very common. Oh, if you look at the sink, you've got only one temperature, cold water. It's because this building was built 15 years ago. So you got an upstairs and downstairs, which is kind of cool. There's some nice things about it. The square feet is real nice, but the layout's not the best. But the price, hard to argue with the price. And the last thing, let me get back here. That one in the south, this is where it's located. If you know Armenia, it's not the best of areas. I mean, it's not the worst either, but it's not very desirable because you got to go a ways before you get to anything. There's no mall nearby. There's no supermarket very close. So you're really going to be living, which is why, it's why the rents are cheap. You're going to be living out of a tienda and like that, which is definitely an alternative. I think you mean 900 square meters, not 900. No, 900 or 990 square meters is almost 1,000 square feet. If I didn't say that, it's what I meant to say. So that one in the south that we're talking about here, it's 90 square meters, which is almost 1,000 square feet. Okay. Take a look at where's my comments here? My landlord didn't go up in my rent this year. However, building administration went up over 20%. Yeah, some of the building administrations are just getting out of hand. Now, all the ones I showed, except for the $3 million, all the ones I showed, the building administration's included in the rent. The The first one, that's 3 million pesos, the most expensive one, had a building administration of 330,000 on top of that. So the rent is actually 3,330,000 pesos. Well, it's not the rent, but it's what you have to pay every month. It's rare to find the in Armenia to not find the building administration included in the price, but it happens. So you have to watch out for that. I think when looking for an apartment size doesn't mean better if the layout's a mess. Always best to see it in person. Yeah, it's very true. Very, very true. Bud Bean. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the contribution, Mr. Bud Bean. Can't see. Yeah, sorry. I think you mean 90 square meters, not 900. Okay, so maybe I said that. Or I was talking about square feet. So 90 square meters, 900, well, it's almost 1,000 square feet. Where can we look for apartment rentals in Armenia? Okay, I use those as examples. They're online, those mostly Mercado Libre. You can find them on Facebook, probably the best place to find them. However, it is not the best place to find if you actually want to get one. That's just kind of get an idea of what they go and what in comparison. You can find one that's, renting for 1,500,000 in a particular building. You find the same type of apartment in that building, and you deal directly with the owner, and it might be 1,200,000. Whenever they post it online, they increase the price. Your best bet is to actually go find one. Pay somebody or go for a walk in the neighborhood you want to live in. Look for the signs. Go in, talk to the doorman, see if there's anything rent, and follow that path. You'll be much better off. And a lot of them that are listed on the internet are through agents. And, I've told you from day one not to go through an agent. And then just to prove my point, because people kept saying, well, why do you keep saying that if you've never done it yourself? So I went through an agent. I'm still in this place, and I'm actually going to extend another year. I've got to the end of this month. I've decided I'm just going to stay here rather than go through the move. But there are huge traps with agent. And the reason I ended up being here in the second year when I was actually prepared to move was because of the traps that they lay. I experienced issues with agents here that I never had when I rented from owners. Now I'm going to quickly go over, get that off the screen. I'm going to go over, I know rattling off a bunch of numbers can be confusing, but I want to tell you about my experience with rentals here. My first place, I ended up staying 2 years. I left just because I had been cooped up there in the quarantine for 6 months and I couldn't take another minute of it. Very small place, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, was not very big at all, but it was in a great location right behind Mokawa. And I really liked living there until the quarantine. But when I moved in, it was $850,000 a month. At the time, the peso was 2,800. And so my rent at the time was around $300 a month. I was there for 2 years. And the rent actually went down in the second year because of the exchange rate. My second place was the Tres Cento. It was the high rise attached to the mall over on Centenario. I was there for 1 year. My favorite place, absolutely loved the place. And my rent was only $1,100,000 for a large 3-bedroom, 2-bath, huge balcony, had a separate dining room, which is almost unheard of. it was just really good size. Loved it, the location. I mean, you couldn't beat it. So it was 1,100,000, and the average peso that year exchange rate was 37.50. So it was more than my first place, but because of the exchange rate, it was $293. So it was actually a few dollars cheaper than my first 2 years. My third place was the house. The 2-story house was 1,400,000. But the exchange rate was 4,300 on average for the year that I lived there. And so my rental cost was $325. So all of these were in the $300 range. My fourth place is here. Now, when I moved in here more than 2.5 years ago, I'm coming up on 3 years. The rent was 1,900,000, but the exchange rate was 4,500. But even at that, it was $422. Fair amount of that was a premium going through an agent. I overpaid about 400,000. Otherwise, my rents would have been similar. That's why I say it was really stupid that for the sake of a video, I go through an agent and then I put myself through all that crap. My second year here, because of the rental increase, it went to 2,100,000. So actually 2,088,000. And the exchange rate this last year was on average 4,000. And so my rent went up to 525. Rent went up, exchange rate went down. And now for this year, for 2026, well, it won't be until April, but my rent increase at 5.1%, I will be at 2,200,000. And currently the peso is running around 3,700. And so my rent will be just shy of $600 a month. So average rents currently are about, in the north of Armenia, nice places. I don't mean like top of the line places. I mean your average nice place where the average gainfully employed Colombian mostly live. It's very few of us. There's 3 or 4 maybe in the area I live in. The average rent is 2,500,000 in that category, middle of the road. You can find cheaper in places that are detrimental to your health, maybe around 650,000. You can find places around a million if you're looking in not great neighborhoods, and they'll have drawbacks about you're going to need a lot more taxis and things like that. You won't have useful things in walking distance, kind of like that one that I showed that you didn't get. Well, maybe you got to see that one. So that's where rents are right now. So I'm looking at how rents have gone up in the last couple years that I've been living here, how they've gone up, and where I was higher, it's actually moderated. The only effect now is the exchange rate. And I actually believe that's going to go this year. It's going to improve for us. But staying versus going through, because I have to take my health into consideration, and I've got limitations right now. So going through a move, the cost of moving as compared to what it used to be for me, taking those things into account, it now kind of makes sense, because where I live is actually a premium location, except I'm no longer in the premium cost of rent. So you saw like the building next door, it's almost 2 million pesos next door, and it's only a 2 bedroom, and it's 2/3 the size of here. So this is where I was getting screwed before. It's now become reasonable. I wouldn't call it a bargain, but it's reasonable. So then the question is, can you afford to be here? Well, I can because with Rumble picking up a lot of my costs now, I I let that fall into coming out of my pocket. So with Rumble covering those costs, I no longer have to take that out of my pocket. Plus, we've had a couple cost of living, Social Security. They're not huge for me. They're not very big, but all in all, I still can live here. Now, I had a lot of pressure on me where I had no extra money with the car, and it was a car that I could no longer really use. And so selling the car took that burden off me. And so with all that, it puts me in a lot more comfortable place. So how is it going to be in a year or two? Well, the thing is, nobody knows. And the other thing is, as I began this is a worldwide issue. So it's not like, Colombia has been singled out. I will say that I've noticed the local population over the last few years has definitely become wealthier. I don't mean people have become rich, but what I'm saying is you're seeing a lot more disposable income. You're seeing a lot more restaurants opening up, and those restaurants being busy because people have money to spend. There's constantly more and more cars on the road. So things are changing. And for people here, from my point of view, for the better. Okay, so I'll look to see if we've got any comments and we'll get to our main topic. Let's see. I think you mean, oh, I answered that one. Okay, I will be right back. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Um, how is the coffee business going? Would you go through the startup knowing now what you didn't know then? Well, I would if I didn't have a heart attack. Definitely would have. It was not a bad move. Um, it the heart attack changed everything. It changed a lot of things in my life. I don't know where this is going to go. It's this coming week. I've got my first appointment in 2 months to check on things and reevaluate. And so, hopefully by the next coffee time, I'll I'll have some idea, or maybe we'll have just done more tests, and I'm waiting for my next appointment. But it altered a lot of things. I've been mostly landlocked in my apartment or nearby, and I've fallen out of touch with a lot of people. That's why I've been focusing on writing the books and catching up on a lot of things that I can be useful here, because I'm not one that can just sit around. Um, so that's definitely so the coffee business. I think it's a great business. I wish I could be more active with it. I'm hoping that when I get through this next round of medical stuff, I can get back into it again. I've still got inventory. I need to sell at the very least, but I don't know. coffee business makes sense? I think so. I think when I could operate it, there was money to be made. How safe is tap water in Armenia? Depends where you are. In the south, they're definitely going through major improvements constantly. In the north, if you're in a high rise, particularly the newer ones, they have water treatment plants as part of their infrastructure because they've got to have massive pumps anyway. Like I live on the 13th floor. The water pressure doesn't come into the building with enough pressure to get to the 13th floor. So they have to have these pumping systems. That's the way high rises are. And when they put these pumping systems in the newer buildings, they include that filtration systems because they're not that expensive. So it's all part of the thing. I drink out of the tap water and I've been drinking tap. The house, I bought water. I wasn't so sure about the house. But the other two high rises I lived in, I could drink that water. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, so I fill up a water bottle. I reuse these and throw it in the freezer, get a little icy, and then throw it in the refrigerator. So it kind of depends where you live, but it's very quickly becoming a non-issue throughout Armenia. For those considering rural options, don't suggest it. I started in Salento 10 years ago. Yeah, went to 200 and 250 today, about 400. Usually means very small. Yeah, but the issue is that's certainly not for everybody. You know, the majority of expats in Quindio actually live around Salento. That really surprised me. When there was only a dozen here in Armenia, there were several hundred around Salento. I don't know what that is recently. That goes back about that information about 6 years ago. But rural living comes with definitely its list of advantages, but there are real issues with it also. Most people that I talk to on this channel are going into or are retired. And whether you like it or not, no matter how you feel today, that means potential health issues. Trust me. Spent my life being healthy, and then boom, comes out of the blue. And if you're living in an area like that, it becomes very problematic. As a matter of fact, it would probably force you to move or cut your life short. So and there's a whole bunch of other things I'm not going to get into today. It's not my topic, but that would be something interesting maybe to talk about again. Part of my message cut off. It's very possible. It's like X or Twitter used to be. There's only so much typing space. You can't type a book into it. And so if you hit if you exceed the amount of characters allowed, then it'll just cut it off. YouTube was the same way. I had the same issue with. I mean, they have to in live chat. Otherwise, you could have somebody just post up something that he spent 10 minutes on, and nobody else will get in there. Okay, so let's get to my main topic today. And since we're running kind of late, I can't say go Bills anymore. They lost in overtime. It was very sad. But, there's always next year. I don't know if I got it next year. And so I was really hoping that I would see a Super Bowl thing, prior to that. But maybe that just means I got another year left in me. We got another comment here. 1.1 to 1.4 million is really the minimum for a small place with city level comforts. Anything suitable for a family costs significantly more. It's pretty true. It's pretty true. Where is Turtle? Is he still holding a grudge? Yeah, apparently he had blocked me. That day he had blocked me on WhatsApp, which is where we always communicated. And leave him his space. It wasn't long of me moving to Manizales I was actually leaving Manizales, coming to Armenia, and he got all pissed off about something that was, he misunderstood something, had nothing to do with me. He misunderstood it, and he didn't talk to me for about 3 years. And I just, people do what they do. I don't, it's like people are going to do something, life goes on. I'm not going to worry about it. And this one, the whole thing was kind of ridiculous. I know exactly why he's mad at me on this one. There's no fault. There was no fault with him, no fault with me, but it pissed him off because he gets like that sometimes, and he blocked me. And if he survives or if I survive, I'll probably hear from him again in a couple years where, he thought about it and got over it. It's what he does, and he does it with most people. It's just how it is. So I don't even take it personal. When I said that, I'm difficult to deal with in my ways, he's difficult in his ways. That's his ways. If you say something that just bothers him, he will cut you out of his life for a while, and then he comes back around. So it kind of sucks. I enjoyed talking to him a few times a week, and I liked having him in chat. It was nice, because he's got a lot of experience here also. So he definitely contributed, and he's a good guy. It's like I'm not mad at him. It's just how it is. So I miss him, but I don't worry about it. It's how it is. Okay. Yeah. Brain fuzz. Yeah, I have those a lot. So we were going to talk about this main topic. So let me see if I can go through this. I got information here somewhere. All right. So there's some myths that expats bring with them. And I've talked about some of these, but I keep dialing in because one thing I want to mention is I noticed it again. Somebody sent me a link, and there are people that are education systems for people that want to become expats. They're selling classes and programs and seminars and things like that. And the general range is about a low of around $200 to up around $2,000 for come visit and do a seminar. So then you got travel and hotel and a bunch of stuff involved on top of that. So it can be very expensive. And I want to point out that in those programs, there's absolutely nothing that they have to offer that isn't in my library of videos, and those are free. I get contributions sometimes. I appreciate it, but nobody's required to pay to get that information. And it came up because this was a topic I was going to do today, and I got a link sent, and they kind of crossed over, and I go, why are people paying that kind of money? They could just go watch the videos. Because whether I'm entertaining or not, whether I drone on or not, my information is good. I have really good, valuable information. And a lot of these that are commercially selling programs are more interested in selling commercial programs than they are in the truth. And one of the ways you can have more sales is by painting rosy pictures about things. And I will paint a rosy picture when it's rosy, but basically I talk about things as they are. I don't need to dress them up. And so it's not only free, but you got that. So anyway, Colombia is easy to visit, but living here is kind of a different sport. And that's what I want to talk about, because most problems expats have here are imported. They bring them with you. And I'm talking now to people that have visited or will be visiting and are contemplating living here. That's who I'm mostly talking about. Although people that have been living here for a year or two or three sometimes fall into some of these. So basically, my goal is to save you time, money, and stress that almost everybody brings with them initially. So let's start with the first one on my list that kind of blows up your budget. And that's myth of Colombia is cheap. Parts of Colombia are cheap. Life isn't. Cheap is conditional. So when you come as a tourist, the way you see rent through an Airbnb or something else is not long term. And when you're renting long term, things are different. Short term in Colombia is a different economy than I live here. Now, here's a big one. This is a huge one. And because of the fact that people don't understand the peso and they view it as, at first they get here and they think, oh, 20,000 pesos, it's nothing. And then after they're here for a while, they think 20,000 pesos is $20,000. They kind of go in the opposite direction. I see it over and over and over again. Here's where you really get burned. Pay attention. Imported costs. For example, a laptop. In the US, we'll say $900 for a new laptop. In Colombia, that laptop will retail maybe $1,100 to $1,300. So that's okay. I'll order it on Amazon. Well, there's a new law, by the way. The import tax is now, the threshold was a few $100s. Now it's down to $50. So anything over $50 triggers the duties. That's from Colombia. Colombia did that. So you got whatever your import tax is. Then you got your EVA, your value added tax, which is what, 19%? And then you have fees that kick in. And so buying it from Amazon is usually the same or higher than what it would be to buy it right here in Colombia. If you in Colombia, sometimes you'll find the same things like on Mercado Libre for less than you can get them in Amazon because they have some sort of deal, or maybe they got people that are going back and forth for visits and bring with them a couple new laptops. They take it out of the box and avoid duties that way. Okay, another one, and this is a daily killer, food brands. Now, if you're buying stuff that's Colombian based, your groceries can be pretty cheap. But you add to that Skippy peanut butter, for example. That jar of peanut butter can be $8 to $12 once you calculate the exchange rate. People see it in pesos and it doesn't register. Box of cereal, maybe you like Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. In the US, that box might be $4. That box here could be $9 to $14, depending on where you're getting it. It could be double, triple the cost. Specialty cheeses. Now, I'm sure a lot of you that lived here for a while know what I'm talking about. But in the US, maybe you pay $5 to $7 for some specialty cheese. Here, how about 12 to 18? I mean, you can look at a lot of things like wine. There's all kinds of things that aren't Colombian based that are going to be very expensive unless you find Colombian alternatives. And most things will have it. Like some people like ragu spaghetti sauce. Well, you can get ragu spaghetti sauce, but I think the last I saw a jar of it somewhere around 25 to 30,000 pesos. You can get a local brand, I forget the name, it starts with a B, it's actually better because it has a lot less sugar in it. And you can really work with it. And it's only about 14,000 for the same size. So you need to look for alternatives if you're trying to save money. If you blindly do that and ignore what the peso is really costing you, you can take a $30 grocery run and turn it into 100 with the same things in the basket. So local food is affordable, but imported routines are usually not, unless you got a really big retirement. Clothing and shoes. Clothing can be a real issue. Shoes can be outrageous. I mean, and sizing can be a problem. So what you do is you find a local cobbler. There are people that have businesses making shoes. You go to them. If you want tennis shoes, you look for good off brands. You know, in the US, maybe you're going to pay $90 for a Nike sneakers, and here that same sneaker might cost you $150 to $200. So you look for alternatives. You know, you can find a local sneaker that's not a Nike, but it's going to be pretty damn good and last you about the same length of time, and it might only be $30 to $40. And having a pair of shoes made for you is way cheaper than buying a pair of shoes from the US. Supplements, a lot of people are into supplements. Protein powder is a popular one. In the US, maybe you buy that thing of protein powder and it's $40. But here in Colombia, that very same one on Mercado Libre could be $75 to $100. Vitamins are crazy. I bought Centrum vitamins, and I need to get them, but it was outrageous. In the US, it's maybe $15. Here, $40 and up. Yeah, it's crazy. Healthcare can be affordable, but imported wellness routines can be very pricey. And there weren't any good alternatives that I could find when I needed those vitamins. I needed to get them. So, not for vitamins in general, but for some of the things that are in there, I was deficient in, and they said, get them right away. So I did. So if you live like a local or closer to it, rather than replicating where you come from, it makes a big difference in your budget. You don't have to live bad. You don't have to live poor. You don't have to sacrifice things, but you need to put effort into finding substitutions, and then save going out to a really nice restaurant for once or twice a month, or maybe there's that particular thing that you love and save it as a treat. Don't blow up your budget over it. Okay, next one, myth. And I don't know where this comes from, but I see it all the time. Everyone speaks enough English. Where this idea is that they understand, they know what I'm talking about. I could tell what are you talking? This is Colombia. They speak Spanish. You may occasionally run into somebody like that, but usually they're just trying to be agreeable and pretend that they know what you're saying, and they don't have a clue. Don't buy into this idea that everybody speaks English. It's just not true, especially if you're outside the tourist bubble. I mean, when you come into the tourist bubble, you go to the same places, do the same things. They're designed for tourists. Here in Quindio, you find that a lot of places designed for it because it's such a big tourist area inside and outside of Colombia. And so you're going to find more English speakers, but by percent, maybe 2 or 3% of the population. I mean, your odds aren't very good. So the minute you step outside of that routine tourist bubble, everybody's speaking Spanish with a few exceptions, and they will be pleasant. But even the ones that have some English, it's very often very basic, very minimal. You're not really going to have a conversation with it. But then, you find some that are. So Spanish does change outcomes fast. And the respect of trying to use Spanish, it means something. Now, I've said all along that don't let it get in your way, and I mean that. That doesn't mean you shouldn't make efforts to try to learn some basic things. I mean, you should at least learn some basic words or phrases. Like one of the first things I needed to learn was, okay, uh, I can know that rice is arroz. So if I go to a tienda and I want to get some rice, I could say tienes arroz. It doesn't mean I'm speaking Spanish, but I say enough for them to understand. Or we all know that bathroom is baño. So you learn donde es baño. It's like you can learn a few words to take care of some important basic things. And there's some phrases. And you need to get on those as soon as possible. Hold on. Sorry, when I get things flashing at me on the screen, it's very distracting and I don't know if they're important or not. That wasn't. Okay, so if you don't speak the language, you need one other thing. And this is another myth. I don't need local friends. I can step into um, my security building and I can jump in a taxi and show them on the phone where gonna go. Locals are your safety net. It's important, and I've told you this before. It's very important that you get to know some people. It may be uh, mercenary. You don't even have to be friends with. Get to know them so you have contacts for particular things. Go out of your way to meet people that have experience or access to areas that you might need, such as healthcare or where to buy something or where to rent something, things like that. Information flows through people, not through the internet, not through Google. So, expat only bubbles, if you live in one, and there is that somewhat available here now that wasn't available before, but it slows your integration. I mean, one good local contact is better than 10 Facebook groups. So who your who's your who would you say could be your first local contact? How about a neighbor, your landlord, shop owner that you go to I don't mean Exeter or a big place, but which you can, but go to the local tienda and things like that, even if it's only to meet them and maybe see them once a week until they get to know you. And maybe you can find reasons to, try to strike up a conversation or something like that. Try to work out your lack of Spanish. Or how about the guard in your building, the porteria, the guards? Usually you have the same reoccurring set of guards, and they'll change up now and then, but you want to get to know them, certainly. Okay, another myth. If it's safe for tourists, it's safe to live there. Um, this came up because somebody was talking about Medellin and how they'd like to live in 13, Barrio 13, because it's so artsy and it's so beautiful. And I can think of a million reasons that would be stupid. Just because it was safe to go there in a group of tourists with people that nothing was going to happen to you doesn't mean that 10 o'clock that night it would be safe for you to walk around that neighborhood. I, and that's just an example. You have to know more than what a week visit is going to tell you. Um, there basically you have different risk profiles, like between neighborhoods, between cities, time of day. Your local awareness is going to beat any statistics or headlines that you read about. So Colombia is safe when you behave like someone who lives here. Gringos are so rare where I live. I'm like a local celebrity. Everybody wants to be my friend. Yeah, he lives in the South, and there's something to that. Mike had the same experience. People went out of their way to meet with Mike. And in the North, you have less of that. There's definitely something to that. Okay, where's my notes here? Okay, another myth. Colombians are laid back about everything. Absolutely not true. Colombians are laid back, relaxed about time, but not about responsibility. So there's a huge difference between appointments and commitments. Family obligations take priority. When they talk about mañana, it doesn't mean they're being flip or careless. What they're doing is setting their priorities. They're not going to lower their standards. Okay, another one. Big tourist trap is thinking the whole country is one single experience. I've been to Colombia. I know what Colombia is like. Colombia is not one experience. Colombia is like many countries sewn together. Medellin is not Bogota, is not the coast. It's not the coffee region. So advice from one to the other does not transfer cleanly. When I talk to people about here, I'll occasionally throw in things that I know about Medellin or Bogota or whatever, but I don't go into depth on it. And very often I'll defer away from it because where I've gone, I visited, I haven't lived there. And what I'm trying to say is having the knowledge of where you live versus where you visited are very different things. So most of the information I have is not even from visits that I've made. It's from people that I know that do live in those places. But even then, it's not firsthand, so I dance around it. So what I know is the coffee region. And I know how different it is than the rest of Colombia. So advice, it just doesn't transfer. It's not. I know somebody in Medellin. They told me all about it, so I'm going to move to the coffee region. Unless he's spent any real time here, he doesn't know about the coffee region. So if you move based on one vacation, you're betting your life on a postcard. You know, we're postcard beautiful, but you need to know more. Just because I love it here and you can't drag me away doesn't mean you'll have that same experience. Everybody's different. So that brings me to my caution or my last myth. I'll figure it out when I get there. Okay, I've lived my life that way, but because I've lived my life that way, I'm used to it. And I also own up to the mistakes. You know, when I step in it, it comes with the territory. But unless you're really used to it, traveled many countries, lived in a number of different countries, you're not prepared for it. And so what you need to do is prepare. You need to be sure what the paperwork is going to be. Banking, should you, shouldn't you? If you should, when should you? What are the ups and downs of that? I've talked a lot about it. Getting a SIM card. Did you know that after your first 30 days, your phone can lock up if you didn't register it? Hardly anybody knows that unless they've been living here for a while. How addresses work, what scheduling is like. Spontaneity works fine once you understand the system here, once you understand the people, the culture, where you're going to be. But until you really know that, and it takes months and months and months of actively learning. Until you get to that point, be careful about setting yourself up for failure. Some of the most successful people I know here contacted me, and this isn't a pitch because I'm not really even doing this anymore, but contacted me before moving here with a list of questions. So they would get a hold of me and say, hey, I want to do a Skype call. I got a bunch of questions I need to sort out. And so we set up a time. We did a Skype. Skype's not even in existence anymore. So we set up a time. I took that list. If it was anything I wasn't sure about, I would nail it down or I'd make it specifically for them. I'd be prepared and ready to go. And I would go through it so that they didn't have any further question about those things. You can do that. You know, if you're going to move here, you probably know somebody here. You know, try to do that sort of thing. Show up informed. And Colombia becomes a million times easier. The people that I'm just talking about that did move here and I met after they moved here, smooth as silk. Got their visa, got a rental, did all the things they needed to do, and didn't run into any obstacles, didn't get screwed on their way to, you know, to get things done because they were forearmed with information. But if you show up guessing, everything's going to cost more. It becomes more problematic. It takes more time. So I'm not trying to scare anybody off. I mean, for me, Colombia is fantastic. I love it here. But it rewards the people who adapt instead of importing their old life. Okay. Let me look and see. I got a lot of people viewing. I'm thinking about doing an ad, mostly because I think it might be interesting for people. Not that they require me. Let's see. Basic Spanish works short term, but long term quality of life integration. Oh, right. But until you get to that point, make an effort to learn the basics. And the reason I brought it up is I've met many people that have visited here, moved here. I've seen some that failed, and the ones that failed caused me to think of these things that I threw out there. And there was one guy in particular that just, I'm not going to learn Spanish. I don't need to learn it. If they want my money, they can learn from me. He didn't last a year because he was miserable. He's constantly miserable. You know, first of all, he had a ridiculous attitude. He was an asshole. He was just very arrogant. And so nobody here locally wanted to do anything to do with him because he was a jerk. But then he complained because he couldn't pay somebody to hold his hand to get things done for him to make up for the fact that he didn't know Spanish. So he built a little island for himself to live on. Everything he tried to do was a failure. You know, so it's you know, it motivates me to do these things. So yeah, you want to know, you need to know the basics as soon as possible. I mean, I got by on a number of years on the basics. So okay, any other questions? I'm gonna do that. I want to do that little ad. It's about Rumble has a wallet, and I don't know crap. I've got 2 or 3 wallets that exist out there because of some software thing. It said, "Hey, but I never went through it to figure out Bitcoin or any. I just never bothered, and some people do. Well, Rumble's got one, and the interesting thing is they have Bitcoin accessible and like that, but they also have gold purchases. So let me read this. You may or may not find it interesting. I thought you might. So let me give it a try here. Here we go. Okay, they can freeze your accounts, shut off your cards, lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you. They control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. I've heard of Bitcoin. You can own Tether Gold, real gold, on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by a serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold, it's not an IOU. This is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on YouTube, of course, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet. Peer-to-peer, secure, and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middleman, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. Now, because I'm in this program, they sent me a link, open your wallet. So I opened the wallet. I didn't know why. I got another wallet. They've never hurt me in the past. So I've got one. And then I saw, well, you can do the tips. Well, the thing is, I don't have Bitcoin or anything. So if somebody tips me in Bitcoin, I don't have the first clue of how to turn that into money. So if anybody ever does tip me through the tip jar or wallet or whatever it's called, it'll force me to have to learn how to access it because I don't have a clue. But the gold thing I thought was interesting because there's so much seemingly up in the air currently. I don't mean in Colombia, I just mean in general, that might be something people would be interested in. That's why I decided to read the ad, even though I don't have to read them right now. I just thought, somebody out there might be interested in it. Okay, so I talked about the Bills losing, very sad. I covered, I think, all the chats. Oh, I think I missed one there. Where is it? Andromeda Surfer. Even in the cities, buying from a legitimate brand store does not always guarantee authenticity. Counterfeits do circulate, and only a few places reliably sell genuine products. I don't remember what that's about, but that statement's very true. You need to be careful about it. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's save you some money. But most times, you're sorry that you did it. And the worst thing is if you don't realize it. Now, fortunately, they have counterfeit laws in Colombia, and they've been more and more enforced because you're seeing fewer and fewer of those issues in the larger stores like Exito and places like that. But you still have to be careful. Use your photo and your AI to take a shot of it and find out if it's real or not, because it can usually do that. But it's the tiendas that are really a problem. Now, here in Armenia, they've been busting them. A couple of weeks ago, I told you about the headline where they were busting phone shops with counterfeit phones. And that's all. It's all a plus. I mean, don't sit there and tell me it's a Samsung when it's not. And so at least here in Armenia, they're actively trying to do something about that. Let's see. Just a heads up, when I open your live stream in the Rumble mobile app, I get a countdown saying I'll be rerouted to the Hodge Twins stream unless I opt out within 10 seconds. Well, no, you're not opening the live stream. You're clicking on a button that says join. I rated the Hodge Twins. And so if you click that button that says join, which is at the top, it automatically goes to the top of the chat. It will take you to that page. You're probably not aware. I explained this a few weeks ago. For me to know that this is a feature, they required that I do 6 of them. I think this was the last one. We're halfway through the month, and I think I've done them all. It is kind of an interesting thing because it pins up there. So if there's ever a website in particular, I think you guys would be interested in, I could put that up there. You also can put a raid, it's slash raid space, whatever that link is. I think you can do it. I'm pretty sure you can do it. Maybe you can't. I don't know. But that's what that's all about. It may be useful in the future. I needed to do 6 this month. That was, I believe, my 6th one, and so I'm good to go. You'll join if you don't opt out on the app. Right. It's not join like you're joining a club. It's like you'll join that page. So it's not taking you there without making sure they have permission to take you to that other website. That's what that join means. I'm going to join in on that other website and take a look at it. It's simple. Just don't click on it. It's not an error. That's what it says. Grand Colombia has raided the Hodge twins. Raided as in I jumped in to check it out. And it puts that button up at the top of my chat. If you click on that, you jump over there. Rumble's motivation to do it, and this isn't new with Rumble, it's used in different software, but their motivation to do it is for people to realize how much is out there besides just the person they're listening to. So piggybacking off of the people that come to watch my videos, you go there, you say, oh, I like those guys, or I hate those guys, but at least you know that there's something out there. I've tried to find things that might be interesting in the previous ones. So anyway, it's simple. Don't click on it, and you won't go there. But you'll still come. If you click on this channel, you'll come to this channel. You only click on that if you click join for the raid. Okay, so there's that. We've run way over time, so I'm going to end it here. I hope you're all doing well. I've got, hold on. Let me get that off the screen. Put this back up. I got that barcode. If you want to leave up to 1 minute of a question or a comment or a suggestion or something like that. If it's anything ridiculous, I'll just delete it. But I don't really have viewers like that. I mean, occasionally I do, but almost always my viewers are very decent, respectable people. And if you leave a reasonable, legitimate comment or question, then put it up next week. Unless, of course, you don't want me to, but you just wanted to send me a little video for whatever reason, then just say, don't post this one up, and I won't. It could be confused as approving or promoting by you. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for all the useful info. You're welcome. You're welcome. And okay, we're going to end it here. I will see you. I've got a couple videos to do. Mostly I've got a bunch of premium videos I have to get out in the next 2 weeks. But no matter what, I will see you at next coffee time. Ciao.